watching, yeah, I'm smiling. I just smile. That's in my persona. It's who I am. I'm John Suchan, Johnny Cleveland. That's Jarrell Flint. We are here with the Browns Postgame Show. As yes, the Brownies blow another one, this time in Philly. There are a variety, a bazillion different reasons why this game was lost. The Browns, again, only score 16 points. 7 of those 16 came on a defensive play or special teams play. Jarrell, welcome to the show. How are you doing this evening? We're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this, but how are you feeling tonight overall?
Before we jumped on the air, I didn't think I was watching a bad football team. I thought I was watching a poorly coached football team. And y'all know that I've been a very vocal Kevin Stefanski critic. And, you know, when you're talking about getting down to the 3-yard line to score a touchdown and you get 2 straight false start penalties in a critical moment, that's coaching. That's coaching. Either there's no consequences for making mistakes because we're in week 5 or 6 now. You just had the same thing happen last week where you had to burn a timeout. And rather than have to burn another timeout, you just had to take the delay of game because you didn't have the right personnel.
Didn't you feel in that moment, Jarrell, too? It felt so much like the last time. And I'm thinking this, like I was thinking back to last week. And we all were, Browns fans across the globe. We've seen this happen last week.
That is a preparation problem. And, you know, for them to have Deuce Staley and Mike Vrabel and Jim Schwartz and all these brilliant, well, those 3 I would say are brilliant football minds, to not have preparation, I got to put it on the guy that's the head coach. If the quarterback gets all the blame and criticism when they lose, and that's for anybody, I'm not talking about Deshaun Watson, I'm talking about any quarterback on any team, you're going to get the lion's share of the blame. What I saw today was a defense that played astronomical again. I mean, again, what you want them to do? They're holding the explosive Eagles to 20 points. What do you want them to do? I think the defense did their job again. The offense played better. They didn't play elite, but I'd give them a C. I'd give them a C grade. I think the second half was better than the first half. But when again, you're talking about self-inflicted penalties, that's coaching. And that's nothing else.
So, okay, but the nothing else. Okay, here's where I come into that. Okay, you and I have both probably coached. We've, had our, so when we're coaching or anybody who's coached, yeah, okay, you can say that it's on coaching. I'm not going to disagree with you wholeheartedly, but there are a few things about execution. And so this, and like you talked about, there has to be consequences. And even Vilma on the TV talked about that after those critical mistakes by Jedrick Wills and a bazillion other mistakes by other guys. But that it was mentioned, there needs to be consequences, and we're not talking about we're going to get into the Watson discussion here in a minute. But, again, after the game, Stefanski's asked about, benching Deshaun or not. And he says, no. And again, I know Watson had a very good, okay, I'm going to put it this way. He had a decent second half. He made some good decisions. He wasn't turning the ball over. So we can come back to that. But that I totally agree with you, Jarrell. I mean, here's the thing, Jarrell. There's half of the Browns population fan base who believes in what you're saying. But then the other half of the Browns fan base, I hear it just now. I mean, the last hour, they're saying that Stefanski's not one of the top 5 problems. I mean, that people are saying this on social media. Like there's all these other problems, and so we shouldn't blame Stefanski. So how do you respond to that?
Well, okay, you say 2-time coach of the year. We got a different sample size with all of the Baker bros that missed Baker. What did he do with Baker Mayfield? He didn't win with Baker Mayfield either. And Baker Mayfield got thrown under the bus and he got ran out of town. The only common denominator that's been on this team, if you're talking about offensively, has been Kevin Stefanski, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco. Again, people feel like he was setting the world on fire with Joe Flacco. But again, to me, when I look at the play calling, when I look at the situational play calling, the defense didn't necessarily lose the game in the playoffs against the Texans. It was 2 pick sixes. you should know prepared going into that game.
Okay, but who do you blame in those particular situations? I mean, come on now. I mean, Flacco did a hell of a job coming in off the bench. I mean,
he did. I agree.
He did, and so.
But I'm saying,
but I mean, he threw the 2 pick six. But do you blame Stefanski for him throwing?
Yes, I do. I do because at that point you have a top 5 defense. Your strength going into that game is not your offense, because when you beat them 4 or 5 weeks prior, CJ Stroud didn't even play, so you didn't even get their best guy. So what I'm saying is, a good coach, based on my understanding, is play to what the strength of their team is.
Yeah. Okay. So there were moments today in the game where they did run the ball inside the tackles and they were making progress. And then I agree with you, Stefanski, and he even F-bombed after the play. They show a little replay there. He just screwed it up. I mean, you got all the way down there and you got a 3rd and short, or it was a 4th and short, maybe. It was a 3rd and short and then a 4th and short. And he decides to do a jet sweep with Tillman, who gets the guy from Philly we don't execute the play, gets blown up and we turn the ball over. Just that was boneheaded.
The North and South was working the whole game.
Yeah.
So that's where, and I can't take credit for this, but I saw this online. Somebody said everybody else is playing football while Kevin Stefanski is playing chess.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example. You don't have to try to outsmart them if it's working. If they know you're coming north and south, just run it down their throat. It's been working. And you saw that when the run game was working, the play action worked, which allowed receivers to actually get some separation and not have anybody within 5 yards of them.
What do you think of thinking of different plays? And this isn't on Watson, but the play late in the game with Coop, that it looked like he got offense, or it was defensive pass interference, but they got offensive. And yes, he did grab his face mask. Do you think that play was, because initially when I saw it, and even on replay, when the ref threw that flag, I swear to God, he was throwing it for defensive pass interference. Somebody in that huddle of the referees talked him into, or someone from New York said, "Hey, no, this guy grabbed him by right." I mean, I wasn't stunned because we kind of could see it on the replay, but I thought that was a really crappy moment too.
It was, but luckily they were able to, I think the next play he threw that throw in the tight window. So that, those kind of things are going to happen. Stupid penalty, stupid play. I'm not going to nitpick that one because, it happens. It's kind of like when Deshaun Watson last year at Pittsburgh, he got those 2 face mask penalties trying to stiff arm.
Yeah. Okay.
I think when you're in the moment, you're just trying to get guys off you.
But Jarrell, he went 26. Watson went 26 for 32 for 168 yards.
Hold on, say it complete. 26 or 32. What's the percentage on that? That's efficient.
Sure. I think it was 26 for 33.
Okay. That's efficient. I'm
just like, 168. They scored 9 points on offense. 9.
They did.
They probably could have had 12, but I think what's his face missed one of the field goals.
He did.
The fact is that we were down 10-0. We weren't doing squat in that first half. Nothing. And thank God for somebody like Myles Garrett came through the middle, got block the field goal. It was a fun moment. The Browns come back and tie
the game. I think that put everybody hey, that's the spark, because I think that's when they started running the ball. So you got to play complementary football. I think that the offense they were flat in the first half, and I'll give Kevin Stefanski, I hate to do it, I'll give him credit. He made an adjustment to start running the ball and try to establish run and do play action. I have to blame you that. Why are you waiting until week 6 to do that?
Now, Steve Gill, our colleague, mentioned this morning in the pregame show that he had heard through the grapevine that Ken Dorsey was going to be calling the plays today, but there wouldn't be a bunch of hoopla about it. Now, I did notice that both Kevin and Ken Dorsey were down on the field today. Both had headsets, both had sheets. It looked like Kevin was calling the plays. I would assume that that's what ended up happening, but Steve initially thought he had heard, from some reliable sources that was a topic and was being worked on this week in practices and such. So I'll be anxious to see what happens next week. All right.
Did it look like Stefanski was calling the plays to you?
It did. It did. Didn't it look like that to you?
See, I was going off of what Steve said. So when I first was watching the game,
I was watching it too. Right.
Maybe this isn't, because to me it looked like they were okay. We're going this way. We're going this way to get.
And there was one time where they showed the two of them standing next to each other.
Yeah.
And so you're one. I don't know. So I'm okay. Yeah. Let's pause for a quick break here. Where the Fanatical Elves post-game show. We'll be right back. We got a lot more to talk about here on this Browns' latest loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for coming back. I wanted to get that break in. Appreciate you guys downloading us, listening to us on Apple, on Spotify. That's where Jarrell and I make all the big pennies, all the big money. Also, thanks to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters for being our sponsor. We get 15% if you go to our link on the X page, click on that, and if you buy any of their coffee, we here at the Fanatical Elves get 15% of that back. So we really appreciate that. They shake the hand of the coffee farmer. Great organization, great group there in Mechanicsburg, Ohio. I've been drinking their coffee for 6 or 7 years and will not go back. It's the greatest stuff in the world. So, Jarrell, all right. So after the game, Stefanski says he's not going to make a change at quarterback. Mm-hmm. You know, it was very interesting today. There's a lot of Browns fans who basically came into this game going, well, I'm going to watch it, but, I'm figuring they're going to lose. Steve and I said, well, this isn't the same old Browns, but it's really starting to feel that way. Mm-hmm. 1-5. A lot of people comparing this to the 1-32. I mean, Browns fans, Cleveland fans are just pathetic. We go all the way back because this is what we're used to. And so I think where do you see, with Stefanski saying he's not changing at quarterback? Mm-hmm. I mean, is that a good decision to say that after? I mean, do you agree with Stefanski right now?
Well, I do, because there were throws, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
Because I was watching, I was like, okay, it looks like he's starting to get comfortable again. It looks like he's starting to get that sixth sense again, because the tight window throw to Cooper that got him down to the 3, I think, before all the false starts. That was a great throw. The throw to Judy on the play action, it was on target. He had time.
Yes.
It was schemed open. So to me, those are the things that you haven't really seen. And I think Kevin Stefanski would tell you out of his mouth, you can't judge any quarterback on their performance if we're not scheming the guys open. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to have to make some difficult throws. And I'll agree, he hasn't been consistent with making tight window throws. Today, I felt a little bit more confident about going forward with him. But there's a part of me that if y'all want to see Jameis Winston, and if it looks the same or worse, then what is the narrative going to be? Because then at that point, you got to go.
Okay, so that's that. Okay, and you've said that a lot, and there are a lot of people who even on this network who continue to say that. Mm-hmm. I guess Jarrell, I go back to what we've seen in the past. Mm-hmm. PJ Walker, mm-hmm. Joe Flacco last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, these guys have won games. Mm-hmm. And now here's the thing. So this offense, again, it's not Stefanski's offense. It's mm-hmm. Ken Dorsey's offense. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's the big issue here, right? Mm-hmm. That he's trying to run something that's not his. So then there's been a lot of people complaining, well, we just need to go back to Stefanski's stuff. Mm-hmm. Heavy on the run, heavy on the tight ends, because we're only carrying 2 tight ends or something.
But that's the funny thing. If you go back to Stefanski's stuff, he was run heavy because he was top 5 in the league for 3 years. It was 2, 3, and then 5, I think. In 2020, they were second, then they were third, then they were 5th. So my thing is, and again, if you've been following the channel, we've put the passing stats up for Stefanski. He's never been higher than 19th in passing. So to me, that tells me that he's a run-first coach, established the run to work.
So he's just feeling uncomfortable still with this new approach.
And if Deshaun Watson, and this is where I'm going to be critical of him if this is true. Mm-hmm. If Deshaun Watson can't play under center and he can't do play action, he doesn't need to be a quarterback of any team. but I think he can do that. So if you're Kevin Stefanski, why have you been so gun happy in the first 6 weeks when that's not how you even set the game up anyway? That's where, again, it's like, you're the leader. Why are you second guessing what you're doing, trying to make the quarterback feel comfortable if that's what he's trying to do? There's just they don't have an identity. They don't know if they want to be a power team. They don't know if they want to be a finesse team. They don't know if they want to be a run and shoot team. And you had all off season to figure this out. And you knew going into it that you weren't going to have Chubb.
Right.
So to carry 3 running backs, Ford, Foreman, and Strong.
Yeah.
And not use them.
Yeah.
Not use them to run screens, not use them to go in between the tackles.
Right.
To establish.
They had a screen today. They did have one in the first half. Pierre Strong, caught one and rambled for about 15.
So that's where to me, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, because again, I'll go back to Baker Mayfield. There was an 8-9 season with Baker Mayfield. Yeah. He had a healthy Baker Mayfield against the Chiefs when Patrick Mahomes got knocked out the game, and he couldn't score more than 16 points. So that's where we got to start looking at Stefanski, what he's done already, because we already have 4 to 5 years of track record.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'm right there. I mean, it's just been one frustrating thing after another. Now, when we're looking, here's my thing, and I've been talking about this to my family and friends in the last hour or two. I'm going to be out of town, actually, so this next week. So I don't know how much I'll be able to participate in our coverage late in the week as our pregame and postgame stuff. But I have my daughter and her boyfriend are taking my tickets, season ticket holder, down to the stadium. And I've been telling them I want video back to me because it's going to be, Jarrell, I'm telling you right now, I have been there for the first 2 home games. And I know you may not like what you see on Sunday, but the Boo Birds are going to be tremendous. I don't think there will be a bigger moment in recent time where it's going to be so ugly. And I'm sad because if they do decide to, go in there with Nick Chubb, I mean, people will be excited to see him. But if this team performs poorly again, which, they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. So potentially that's a good thing because we've traditionally done well with them. But man, if it goes south again, Kevin Stefanski and Watson, I don't know if Stefanski really understands. I don't think this organization truly, and I get tired of people saying that the fans don't get it and we don't care about from the organizational standpoint, don't care. They better damn well care, because this fan base is being torn apart. And we're here trying to support it and talk to fans and everything, but I'm telling you that it's going to be one ugly scene on Sunday. If that game goes south quickly, I don't know if Stefanski and Watson get out of there alive. I mean, that's.
So let me ask you this. When the team went 0-16 and 1-15, was there this much vitriol?
Oh hell no.
So what happened? So what happened then?
What happened is
the expectations.
Yes, it's all of that. I mean, it's Stefanski thinking that he knows better, and Andrew Berry thinking he knows better, and the front office and the owners thinking that they all know better than all of us. And then you throw in the fact that you throw in a quarterback, and look, it's just there. I mean, they made the choice to bring this guy in, and it drove away 10 to 15% of the fan base. I mean, I can tell you right now, there are people every day I talk to who say, I won't cheer for the Browns until they get rid of him. I mean, that's what they're saying. So they weren't doing that back when they went. I mean, people hated Hugh Jackson just because we hated the owner too at the time, because it's like, dude, you're going 0-16 and 1-17. Get rid of they brought him into that second season before when it was like with Baker, right? Yeah, why did you bring him? And then they finally got rid of him. I don't know, Terrell. It just seems like next Sunday is going to be. I mean, I pray to God that they win, and they have a very good shot at winning. but they've already faced the Boo Birds, and all these performances. I mean, Jarrell, Greg Newsome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are just fed up, and he was getting burned left and right. I mean, Martin Emerson, all these guys that we've talked about, it's frustrating.
Well, I can't say. I thought the pick play, I thought he should have, and I don't know what they're coaching, but I feel like if he sold the contact, they would have called a pick play on that. But when he tried to go around the guy, well, now they're not going to call that because you see it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I would think that coaches in the NFL would say, if they're running a pick, just initiate the contact and flop and see if you flag. That's what I'd be telling them.
Well, people are talking about how he just kind of gave up, then he just quit on the play. I mean, based on what they were seeing on the video. Now, I know there's a lot more to that.
On the Devontae Smith play?
Yes.
He wasn't going to catch him. He wasn't going to catch him.
True. I understand. Yeah. It's just a lot of people see that, and that's the image that people get is like he came across, he stopped. It's like, but there are other guys there.
He's trying to avoid the contact. But here's the thing I'm going to say about the defense. The defense is holding teams to 20 points. I did a show on this. If Kevin Stefanski can manage to score 23 points, they might be 5-1 right now, or 4-2. We've talked about this. What do you want the defense to do? It's unrealistic for them to hold teams in this era.
No, because they're on the field all damn long. Yeah.
To 10. And if they could, I do believe if they could play physical like they could play 20 years ago, teams wouldn't be scoring 20 points on them. They'd be scoring 10 to 13.
Yeah.
So I think the defense is fine. I'm not worried about the defense.
Yeah.
Because the defense, and we talked about this before we went on air, I still, and maybe call me optimistic, I don't think that the season is over yet, because at 5 losses doesn't eliminate you from the playoffs. They've only lost to NFC teams and the Raiders. So they only have one AFC loss. If they can come back, beat the Bengals, if they can come back, beat the Ravens, now you're 2-0 in the division. Now you're cooking with something. Nick Chubb is back. So this whole gloom and doom, I get it. You are what your record says you are. You're 1-5. But if y'all have been watching the game, this team.
Well, were you watching?
Go ahead.
Were you watching the team back when they were 0-16 and 1-17? Were you? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It was hard to watch, but yeah, I watched it.
I mean, Jarrell, you've been a fan a long time, and you've watched a lot of these seasons. I mean, Browns fans are very accustomed, since 1999, or even going way back. I mean, we've always been accustomed to having lousy football. And when it turns around and there are those magical years and moments, like between the late 80s and the early 90s, and, more recently now with even Stefanski was part of that. And I know he didn't coach the 2020, the game win against Pittsburgh. But we cling to these things. I don't know.
You cling to the magic moments? That's what you're saying you cling to?
We all do. Most Browns, at least Browns fans in my age group, we reflect on 1981 playoff, game, where Brian Sipe throws the interception. We talk about that endlessly. We talk about the 1986 double overtime win against the Jets. These are moments that we hold on to, or, then we talk, of course, about the drive and the fumble. It's just kind of an ingrained. And so that's what a lot of us older fans have now. And so when we see stuff going south, like Jarrell, I don't think this team's going to win another game this season. That's what I really don't.
Their floor is not one win. There's no way. Like, I would bet any amount of money that they win at least 7 games.
Hell no. No way. No.
I say that because Chubb is coming back. I say that because I think Stefanski is starting to realize if you can't pass the ball if you can't run it. Patrick Mahomes, when they had what's your guy's name? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then he got hurt, and then Pacheco emerged. They've always had a consistent run game, and they mix in the run with the pass. You have to do that. When Brady had what was his name? Rex Burkhead and LeGarrette Blount and James White, they ran the ball.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a question, because you brought up 2 things.
By the way, I just want to interject here real quick. Thank you to Browns Football Forum and to our San Juan Creole for commenting. Also, folks, if you're watching this live, please talk to us. We'll answer questions. We're here on the Twitter. We're on YouTube. So please send us your comments. Okay, Jarrell.
Yes, thank you. So I was gonna ask you about the 1981, the playoff game against the Raiders.
Sure, I was 12.
Okay. Now, to my knowledge, the kicker missed an extra point, maybe 2 extra points and a field goal in that game, right? And they were
Dan Cockcroft. Yep.
Why would Sam Rutigliano dial up a pass play? You got to give my father said that all the time when I would ask him about that game. You got to give the kicker a chance to redeem himself. Right. So that's coaching. No. I don't blame Brian Sipe for that. That's coaching. You shouldn't have even dialed that play up.
Yeah. Now, Sammy said to throw it into the Lake Erie, but okay.
Now I've heard that. We'll get into that another day because I got some information. When you talk about the expectations, I want to ask you, if you swap the Ravens' success in the last 5 years, we'll say since they got Lamar Jackson, and you swap it with the Browns, they've gotten the AFC Championship games, they've won a division, they've had byes. It hasn't amounted into anything. So my question to you is, if these Browns teams, let's say Baker Mayfield was winning the division and going to the wild card or the conference championship and losing, do you think the fan base would be satisfied with that?
Much more. I mean, I can tell you right now, personally, I would be distraught. I would be upset that they hadn't been to a Super Bowl.
Okay.
And I would be frustrated. But the frustration wouldn't be magnified so much, I don't think, because we see all this talent on the field right now. Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson. These guys are all very talented players. And I think it's just such a shame right now. I think that's what everyone is really just pissed off about, because Jarrell, I agree that there's a lot of this is Stefanski, and I don't agree with the people that are saying that Stefanski's not part of the main problems here. It is a problem because when he refuses to not call plays or continue to call plays, and he refuses to bench Watson, and I'll let Deshaun go in and play Cincinnati. If he lays another egg and this team is 1-6, going to go up against the Ratbirds, maybe one more game against the Ratbirds, to see if because he did beat the Ratbirds a year ago. Okay, so that's 2 home games, but it's against 2 divisional opponents. If he goes in there and this team lays 2 more eggs and they're 1-7 going into the bye, then for God's sakes, man, something's got to give.
So, and I wish I had the stats in front of me, and maybe we'll talk about it on Thursday. I'm willing to bet that if you look at the run stats, because I got the stats for today. So they ran it. Pierre Strong carried it 8 times for 43 yards. Foreman carried it 10 times for 31 yards. So that's 18 carries. Watson had 4 runs for 17 yards. So that's 22. Ford had 2 carries before he got knocked out the game.
20 carries by the running backs.
So
I saw that earlier.
So 24. Tillman had a -5 rush, but that's 25 rushes. Right?
It was balanced today.
I would be willing to bet that if we go back and look at the first 5 weeks, they didn't get near 25 rushing attempts. I know they didn't do it against the Cowboys.
No, you're right.
The Jags. Who did they play third?
Jacksonville. Well, you should mention Jackson. The Giants. The Giants.
They didn't do it against the Giants and the Commanders. We know they didn't run it against the Commanders. So to me, it doesn't matter if it's Winston, it doesn't matter if it's Watson, it doesn't matter if it's Joe Flacco. I've said this on the show every week. What are they attacking? It looked like today they said, we're going to attack we're going to run it down your throat. And when you start to come up, now we're going to take shots. That's balance, like you say, and we haven't seen the balance. So that's why, to me, even though this was a piss poor loss and it was hard to watch because of 2 false start penalties, and to me, I'm not saying that those players should be cut because those are serious consequences. But I do think that those 2 players that did that there needs to be some consequences to show the team we're not
Yes.
tolerating that shit going forward.
Right.
If you do shit like that to cost us the game,
yeah,
we're going to.
Okay, but
go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Okay, shit, I agree with you that it's piss poor play, but can you acknowledge? Okay, Watson again. He has played piss poor in many moments this season.
I agree.
Why hasn't there been consequences for that? Like that's where we're at right now.
So let me ask you this: Do you trust Kevin Stefanski's judgment?
At the moment, hell no. No.
Did you trust it?
I think I trusted it because we were winning. Obviously, this is Browns fans.
Okay.
We saw a guy who looks savvy. He has every clean cut. He looks like he's been around.
Okay.
And people are giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's been with this team since the pandemic through 2020. Riding on the heels of the tails of, this crazy 2020 season victories. But no, he coached he had all this talent. Odell, we've talked about this before, Jarvis Landry.
Okay.
We spin it now to now. And so you want to trust this guy, but he's not the kind of coach that, I can't trust him. We're all sitting there watching these games like you, and I'm sitting back going, like when they had the ball at the 3-yard line, like we said before, I'm going back to last week. We all felt that. At least I did, going, well, shit, this feels just like it did a week ago.
Yeah. 2 straight weeks.
Yeah.
So my question to you then is, okay, if you don't trust Stefanski and you're saying that Watson should be benched because you're saying if you look at the footage, if you look at the film, he hasn't been playing well. So you got another change. That's what you're saying. And if Kevin Stefanski is on record saying we're not making a change, we've heard Steve say that it's not being forced on him by Haslam. He has it on good authority. It's his choice. Yeah. So if Stefanski is willing to maybe jeopardize his career, hitching his wagon to Watson, would you then say would you then say that maybe Stefanski has to go then if he's exercising?
Absolutely. Yes. There's this whole thing about, well, we can't be the same old Browns and just fire the coach. Well, look, this is year 5, right? This is year 5.
Year 5.
Okay. And this is not going we could spin it around, like you said, Jarrell. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And I won't say that yet, but it doesn't feel like this season's going to get much better than that we're talking about right now. Well, so I definitely think if this team is 1 or 7, 1 or 8, Jarrell, definitely need to fire him.
And so I'm not going to say I disagree. I think that Kevin Stefanski, because he's the coach and he's the leader, I really do believe, and I don't know if it's Jimmy Haslam, but my hope is that somebody says to him, look, you need to focus on running the team and managing the team, making consequences for these players that aren't, executing and costing us the game. You got to, whether it's getting cut, whether it's getting fined, whether again, I don't know with the the union, maybe you can't do that, but he needs to run it like a CEO would so that he can focus more on, because I'm sure this stuff is happening in practice. We're just not seeing it. There's no way you can tell me that they're practicing.
Yeah.
Like game speed, game ready, and these mistakes aren't happening in practice. There's no way you can get me to believe that because you play how you practice.
Yep.
And again, to me, it doesn't matter who.
Okay, so then you've got the owner who held on to Hugh Jackson going in. So they went 0-16. What they went 1-16, 0-17, and then they held on to him. So this is an owner that's held on to a guy that was 1-31 going into the following season, right? With Baker, that was in 2018.
Yep.
They finally insert Baker at the beginning of that season, and finally they got rid of him, right? Wasn't it like 5 or 6 games in?
And then when Kitson took over.
But you think about, that Haslam was back 6 years ago. You have a stadium that's they're going to announce at the end of the month, probably, that they're going to build this brand new stadium. You got a real big PR issue right now. I mean, I don't know I don't know what you do. I mean, because you got this stadium coming up in 2029, and you also have a coach that's really on the hot seat. And if they can't win and they're 1-8, 1-9, for God's sakes, man, I don't know. It's a huge PR issue.
Well, as I've said, in the AFC North, the problem for the Browns is that if they played in the AFC East, 11 wins after Brady left the AFC East, I'm saying this, they would have won the division. If they were in the AFC South, 11 wins, because they won the game, they won 11 games 2 times under Kevin Stefanski. They would have won a division. NFC West, you might have won a division, maybe not because San Fran wins 13, 14 games. But what I'm saying to you is that 11 wins in the AFC North, it might cut it this year because everybody kind of got off to a slow start, but they're probably not winning 11 games this season. So I do think that the Kevin Stefanski experiment is on thin ice.
Very much so.
And I do think that the quarterbacks have been the scapegoats because Baker was the first one. They couldn't make Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham work, who were still in. I say they were still in their prime. Some people would say Beckham was washed up. I don't think he was washed up, and they still had a solid defense. Couldn't make that work. Baker gets ran out of town, and then the PJ Walkers and who else was it? What was our guy Jacoby Brissett and all of these guys. We can't forget he still had Nick Chubb to depend on, to lean on. He still had a solid defense to depend on, to lean on. You take Nick Chubb away, and now all he has is a solid defense to lean on. And you're sitting at 1-5 now. I like I say, I can't see how anybody is to blame. And Alex Van Pelt got the guillotine too. So a lot of people offensively have left. And we say, oh, he's a 2-time coach of the year. But do we forget that how does he call the defense? He doesn't call the defense. Like, does he do that? So to me, and the run game was the shining spot on offense. So was it Nick Chubb? Like, I can call a stretch.
Well, absolutely, it's Nick Chubb. You got to get Nick Chubb is a special, unique player. He's in his own category.
Does that require any talent as a play caller? We're gonna run the power to Nick Chubb. That doesn't require no effort. So
yeah. Well, Jarrell, final thought. I think we're like a lot of Browns fans. There's so many Browns fans today that are frustrated. We hear you. We agree and disagree with you guys. We have a lot to look forward to as far as the Cleveland sports scene. Tomorrow, the Guardians play the hated New York Yankees. So start the American League Championship Series. We're looking forward to that. But we'll have a lot more to talk about this next week. Jarrell, you got anything planned you think you're going to work on for the Dog Food Radio Show?
There's a lot of I may look into the run game the first 5 or 6 weeks or the lack thereof. We got a comment. Looks here from Kathy P. She said, or they say Watson said run the ball. I didn't see that. So if Watson was critical during the week that we need to establish the run more, I would be curious. I'd be curious to find that out. But yeah, that's probably
what do you think she's referring to, Kathy? What do you really? She's Watson said run the ball, meaning what?
I'm thinking during the week he was saying they need to get the run established more. That's what I would think it means, but I don't know. I didn't hear that.
I didn't see that. Yeah, we didn't hear that. I caught wind of Stefanski's comment about that we're going to start Watson. That's all I heard there on that end. But
I try to watch all the press.
Well, we will have lots of programming this week again. Pre-game, post-game shows will come up next week when we play the Bungles on Sunday next time. So that should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see how that all turns out. I will be coming back from Wichita, Kansas. Going to be out there in Wichita. If you're watching from Wichita, the Browns Backers Group, Josh runs a great program there. I was the Browns Backers president out there with the Oz chapter of the Browns Backers. Looking forward to being there with them next Sunday. That's where I'll be at Emerson's Bar and Grill there in downtown Wichita. I say Wichita because I had an old friend that used to work up in Rochester, New York on a radio programming, and he would always announce, he would say, he would call Wichita, Wichita. So But hopefully the Browns can get back in the win column next week. Jarrell will be talking Browns. I'll be talking. I'm probably going to be doing a Johnny Cleveland show here shortly on my reaction to everything this week. We got dog food, a dog pound radio, wait a second. Dog Pound South with Steve. East Bank Sports Show with Noah Olson, who's probably going to be talking more about the Guardians because he's a big baseball fan. He was at the game. Great moment if you're a Cleveland baseball fan, getting that big hit late in that game against the Tigers. We got Rod Bloom with the Browns Blitz. We got Sammy with his Browns breakdowns. And, of course, Jarrell here with his dog food radio. Final thoughts, Jarrell? That's it.
I run the damn ball.
Yeah.
And you got to run the damn ball, especially with Chubb coming back. And next week, like when they play the Bengals, they better have 35 rushing attempts between everybody. Chubb, Foreman, Watson. We better not do the show Sunday night. And
they don't get more than 30. I'll be pissed. I'll say 30. I'll say 30.
Yeah. 50, because if it's 15 attempts, that's not going to cut it.
Oh, we're all going to be pissed to high heaven. We're already pissed. That's why I don't think Stefanski and Watson are going to get out of there alive. But we'll wait and we'll see how that goes next week. Folks, thank you for being here on the postgame show. Yes, the Browns lost to the Philadelphia Eagles today, 20-16. Let's hope that they can maybe score 20 points next week. That's the first time. They're the only team in NFL history now. I think so. I saw this. They're the first team in NFL history not to score 20 points in their first 6 weeks of a season. That is so bad. That stat alone should get somebody fired. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like,
hold on. Can we put that on the screen real quick? I think I still have some of my slides on here. Let's see.
You grab it?
I'll
get rid of the there. Wait, let me get rid of the.
Okay. So if that is true, basically this 8-23 that was going into this season. So add what, 5? Is that 5 losses? So Stefanski is now 8-28.
Yes.
Games where he doesn't score over 20 points.
Yep.
And just so percentage wise, that's going to drop considerably. So that's pretty piss poor.
Yes, it is. Well, Jarrell, have a good night. Go Browns. Let's get a win sometime in my lifetime.
Let's run it.
See ya.